Okay, so for this project, I'm going to give you a file that's going to have a bunch of different layers inside of it. Each layer is going to be for a different part of the classroom, and this project is going to be using the elements of art for different parts of the classroom. So for this layer over here, or this mask, each mask and layer would be the same thing, so I'm going to turn it on. The second layer is going to be color, and it's just going to be this mask right here. Third layer is going to be shape. So this wall here is going to be shape. You want to change the color and then the line width as well for some of those shapes. And then texture, you're going to find a texture online and you're going to go ahead and upload that. You don't have to make the texture, we're just going to find a texture and then you're going to upload it. And then value, we're going to add a small value scale over here. We're going to be practicing how to use the pen tool inside of Vector, and we're going to create a small quick value scale. Then we're going to take that file, you're going to send it to me, and we're going to project it inside of the classroom so it looks something like this. So we'll take your files and we'll project them in the classroom like this, so that we get more familiar with the projector for more advanced projects. So let's go and get started. Okay, so the first thing we do is we're going to go to vector.com, and I'm going to click on login. If the login button isn't showing, you can just click to the side, click on login. Remember, your username is going to be your student ID. So the first thing we do is we're going to go over here to the left hand side. We're going to click on new artwork. Then you're going to select this option here where it says website huge. Then let's go to name this. It's called Classroom Showcase. I'm going to click on create. Then we're going to upload a file. Before we do that, we need to download it. So I'm going to go back to Teams. And you're going to download this file here. It's going to be called classroomwallmask.svg. Click on download. That's going to go over to your downloads folder. You could go back to Vector, click on this cloud over here on the left hand side. Go to your downloads and it should be there. Click on open. And there's the file there. So if you go over here to layers, it's going to say group. So that means there's a bunch of layers over here that we need to ungroup. So make sure that that file is selected. So you should have an outline. Right click on it. Then click on ungroup down here. And if you go back to layers, it ungrouped all the layers that I gave you. Okay, so you could hide these layers one by one if you want to. If you click on layers, you could hide them by clicking on these eyeballs here. So this bottom layer is actually the first layer. So let me scoot this over so you can see. So this bottom layer down here is the first layer that we're going to be designing. This text one, you could actually hide all these if you want to. They're just telling you which layer is each mask. But you could always bring it back to make it a little bit easier to know what you're designing. So this first mask here is going to be line. And inside of this one, we're just going to put our name here. So I'm going to hide this. And I'm going to go over here to the pencil tool. And I'm going to add my name. And then we're going to add some lines inside of this design here. So my name. You can use the pencil tool. You can also use the text tool if you want. And we're going to practice making different lines. So we're going to have some wavy lines, maybe some squiggly lines, maybe some wider lines here, and fill those in. You don't have to make a pattern, but you can if you want. Do some swirly lines, some hatch mark lines. So if you kind of move out of view, you can always do Control-0 and it'll bring you back to the full screen. You have this zoom in button down here. If you click on this little icon that looks like an arrow or a door, you have to zoom in, or you can hold down Control and plus and minus. So this first layer, again, it was line. You can also use these bars over here to drag around. I'm gonna go back to layers. And everything that I drew, it created its own layer. So every time I drew something and let go, it made its own layer. So I could actually select all those. So I'm going to click on this top one where it says freehand path. Hold down shift and then click on the last one. And I could group all those lines that I made. I could right click over here and then group. I could even rename that group, call it line drawings. And I could drag it over here to where my line design is. So again, this is the line design. You can even rename this, call it line, and then just have all your line drawings below. that layer there. So the next one that we're going to design, it's going to be color. So I could rename this color. And so all you have to do for this one here is select the layer. I already outlined it for you, and you can go over to where it says fills and then change the color. Right? Here is the color fill. And that one's done. All you have to do for this layer is to change the color. I'm going to zoom out, so Control 0. So we're going to do the third layer. So I'm going to click over here. I'm going to turn on and off so I can see what I need to design there. We need to design some shapes. So I can name that layer if I want to. So double click where it says text. And path is just an outline that I need to stay inside, so make sure you stay inside the lines when you're designing this one. And again, you don't have to have the word there. You can call this shapes path if you want. So I'm going to design this wall here to have a bunch of different shapes in it. So I can click over here where it says shapes. I could probably make this window smaller here. Control 0 to make it bigger. And then choose a bunch of different shapes. So you just click on the shape and then click over here. And then you could rotate if you move your mouse towards a corner. You see this rotation tool, so you can just click and drag. And then if you have your shape selected, you open this window back open where it says fills. You could click on the color, change the color. You can also add a border. That border could be a different color. Right now it's set to transparency, so I could just drag that over. And I can make the border wider, so I could change this to 3. And it looks like it might have not changed the color, so I'm gonna go back. So there's the border there. I could copy and paste that same shape, or I could come back and add another one. So I'm gonna click on the shape, click where I want it. I could scale it down by grabbing a corner. I could rotate it by hovering around a corner until that rotation tool pops up and then rotating it. So you're just adding a bunch of different shapes over here. You could change the color by selecting on the shape, by clicking on this open button over here on the right hand side, bottom right hand side, clicking on fills, and then I could lighten up the color. So you could have some darker values, some lighter values. So fill this whole wall with shapes. Then on the top here, we're going to be adding a texture. So I'm going to close this so you can see. So this whole top layer here is going to be a texture. So I'm going to go back to layers. So I'm going to double click to just rename this texture path. It's going to call this texture. So all you have to do for this one is we're going to go to Google. I'm going to type in texture. Then I'm going to click on images. And then I'm going to choose a texture. So you could click any of these on this first screen. You could click up here on top. It'll help you figure out different types of texture. I could click on this abstract one. Again, you could do something completely different. And I'm going to click on this one here. And I'm going to right click and save image as. And then at this point, I'm going to go over to my OneDrive. I'm going to click on documents, click on the academic year, click on the peer that you have in my class, the semester that we're currently in, and we're going to create a folder for this project. So this folder is going to be called Classroom Showcase. So make sure that you make a folder so that all your files are inside this folder here. And I want you to name this texture, name it your name, so your name, and then texture. Make sure you put your name at the beginning of this file. And I'm just going to save it. And while you're here and while you have the texture, you can also save it a different way. Sometimes if we save things from the internet, it doesn't save it as an image. So I'm going to go to Snipping Tool. Click on that, click on New. And I'm just going to snip this. And I'm going to go to File, Save As. And I'm going to go to that folder we just made. So I'm going to go to my OneDrive, my Documents folder, the academic year we're currently in, the peer that you have in my class, the semester we're currently in, and then the name of the project. So we're going to save it as a PNG. So make sure you save it as your name. and then texture. I'm gonna go back to vector. So you don't have to do it a texture, you don't have to draw a texture, you don't have to create a texture for this top one. I just want you to go to Google, type in texture, click on images, take a screenshot or try saving the file onto your computer, and then you're gonna upload that texture. Now the last part of this wall mask is over here on the right hand side. And so this is gonna be value. So we're gonna be adding a value scale to this mask here. So I'm gonna just call it value scale path. And again, if we turn this on, you could tell that we're supposed to make a value scale here. So I'm just gonna call this value scale and then turn it back off. And we're gonna use the pen tool here. Here's the pen tool on the right hand side. I'm gonna zoom in, so Control plus. And all I want you to do is to make a quick value scale using 4 different values. And you could lock these layers in too, in case I click on something by accident. So if I click on this, it might move around while I'm drawing over here. So I'm just gonna lock these in. Click back on my pen tool. So I'm gonna click, let go of my mouse, move my mouse down, click, let go. And I'm just gonna divide this mask here into 4 different parts. So I'm gonna click, let go, and I'm gonna go straight up, click, let go, and I'm gonna go back to where I started. And it creates a shape. Now if I go over here on layers, this is that path there. You could always rename it. So dark value. Now we need to fill this in with a color. So I'm gonna click over here on the bottom right hand side, and I'm gonna fill this in. So I'm gonna check this part on. I'm gonna click on fills. I'm gonna make it black. And then I'm gonna scoot over by sliding this bar over. I'm gonna click back on my pen. I'm going to click, let go. I'm gonna go a little bit further down, click, let go straight down so that you make a straight line, click, let go. I'm gonna follow my mask, click on this corner, let go, and then I'm gonna click back to where I started. I'm gonna make sure I have that mask selected. You could click back on your layers to rename it. And I'm just gonna call it semi-dark. I have it selected still. I have my toolbar still open, so I need to click over here on this check mark to select it. I'm gonna click on fills. I'm gonna click on these blues here, maybe a dark blue, and now I'm gonna let go. I'm gonna click back on the pen tool. I'm gonna click, let go, move about halfway of this remaining area, drag straight down, click, let go, click on this corner, let go, and then go back to where I started. And there's the path down here. Looks like it moved it. You could always click and drag your layers to rearrange them. So now it's up here. I'm gonna double click and just call this light value. I have it selected still. My menu's open. I'm gonna turn on the fills, click on that blue, and I'm just gonna drag over here, drag up, or you could drag towards the top left to find a lighter value. Now I'm gonna let go. Now I need to have a lighter value on this last one here. So I'm gonna go back to the pen tool, click on a corner, let go, click on another corner, let go, drag your mouse straight down, click, let go, click on this corner down here, and then back to where we started. Make sure that you have that mask or that path selected. Looks like Vector keeps moving it down to the bottom, so you just click and then move your mouse up. And then we're gonna rename it. Lightest value. Now click on it. Make sure that we have our menu open. Turn on the checkbox for your fills. Click on the color, and then we can move towards the top left to make a lighter color. Now I'm gonna hold down Control 0 to zoom out. You could even close this menu bar. You could close your layers, Control 0, So let's pretend that this file is ready to go. This whole wall over here is filled with shapes. You filled in this path or this mask over here with different types of lines. You finished your value scale. What you could do now is you could go over to this menu down here. We're going to click on this up arrow where it says export, and you're going to send it to me as an SVG and then a PNG. So it's already an SVG, so we can just hit download. That's going to be in our downloads. And then when that's done downloading, I'm going to click over here where it says SVG, change it to a PNG, and then download that as well. So send it to my downloads folder. So let's go over to my downloads folder. There's the downloads folder there. So there's the PNG, and then this is the SVG. So I'm going to go to my File Explorer. I'm going to open up my folder where we have our files, and then the downloads folder here. I'm going to go inside the project folder where I have my texture, and you're going to send me 3 different files. I'm just going to drag these over into our project folder. So drag that over. This is the PNG, this is the SVG, and then a texture. So you're going to send me 3 different files. The texture that we saved, the SVG, it's going to look like it has a browser button, that's the SVG, and then the PNG. So 3 different files: texture, SVG, PNG. And then you're going to attach that to the project folder. So you would click on the paperclip, click on attach, and then attach those from your project folder. So if you have any questions of how to use the tools inside of Vector, how to bring the mask inside of Vector, how to access the different layers inside of Vector, go ahead and let me know.
Thank you for watching the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And feel free to watch any of the other related videos.